What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another week of the Maryland Made podcast. Y'all know who it is. It's Sophia here to host the podcast this week. The Maryland Made podcast provides timely, relevant, and practical information to empower student athletes to explore their potentials and pursue their passions. This week's episode is going to focus on our graduating athletes. Joining us today, we have a variety of UMD college athletes. This is part one of this topic. We're going to have a part two dropping very soon with another group of dope graduating athletes, and I'm going to let this group introduce themselves in a second. We chose each of these students based on a variety of factors and know each of them have something unique to offer to this conversation about graduation, transition, and preparing for life after UMD. To start it off, let's just have each of you introduce yourselves, get a little background on your story and how you got to Maryland. Thomas, you can go ahead and go first.
So my name is Thomas Eubanks. I am from Charlotte, North Carolina, born and raised there. I'm currently a senior at Maryland. I'm in the Smith School of Business and I'm studying business management. And then I play on the golf team here at Maryland. So what brought me to Maryland was a strong, I love the school. I wanted to go somewhere where I could get a good education and I wanted to play big time Division I sports, preferably in a Power 5 conference. So Maryland checked all those boxes. And being from Charlotte, not too many people from Charlotte decide to venture up north to Maryland. So I wanted to step out of my comfort zone and go somewhere where I could meet new people and grow not only as an athlete, but more importantly, grow as a person throughout my 4 years here.
Thomas, was the first time you owned a winter coat when you moved here?
I'd had a couple before, but I had to get the long parka when I came up here, that's for sure.
Okay, I love it. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. I'm Mackenzie Morgan. I'm a fifth year on the track and field team. I'm studying my master's of public health right now, and I'm from Ontario, Canada. So the first time that I owned a winter coat was not when I came to Maryland. My journey coming to Maryland was a little bit different as an international athlete, but I always kind of knew that going to kind of strive to be in the NCAA was like a goal of mine. It's very like a popular thing to do where I'm from, especially with track. So it was always kind of on my radar, but it was definitely like a stressful process trying to navigate the NCAA as an international athlete and figure out, what all these conferences are and what does all of this mean. And so I was lucky to have a lot of guidance from some older friends and that was actually kind of how I ended up at Maryland. Was a friend of mine, Christine Laurie, who was here before me, who was like a big mentor of mine and a big friend of mine, who kind of introduced it to me. And then when I visited, I really just like fell in love with the school and the culture. And I really didn't know what was in store for me academics wise. I was really excited to be able to be a part of the Big Ten. And I was very pleasantly surprised by all of the different academic opportunities and the career development opportunities that have really helped me get to where I am today.
I love that. That's awesome.
All right. Hi, I'm Jaiden Ritter. I'm a senior on the women's track and field team. I'm also in the Smith School. I'm studying information systems and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. And what brought me to Maryland, I'm actually a transfer student. So last year was my first year here. And being from Maryland, I always had a lot of friends who went to UMD. So whenever I would come, I always felt a really big sense of community here, and community is like really important to me. And that was something I didn't feel like I was getting at my old school. So I decided to come here also to be a little bit closer to home. And Maryland has a really great business school. And that was something that really drew me to coming here.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for sharing a little about your stories. I'm going to ask each of you some specific questions related to some things that you mentioned. So I'll start with Mackenzie. So you mentioned being an international student and how challenging that was for you to navigate. So and you talked about Christine, you talked about some of the resources here, but really, how did you navigate preparing for life after competition as an international student, having to decide, staying in the US, going back home, going somewhere else, and really what made you decide to stay here and do the master's program that you're in now?
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing that Christine and I have talked about that like throughout our journeys, it's been really important for us to be very intentional about the different programs we're getting involved with to really just help us frame our decisions. And even once we kind of once I decided that, my end goal is to go back home, but just in terms of gathering those resources to get myself in a place where I can still be networking back home, being very intentional about the different opportunities that I take, the different programs I get involved with. But that's been super helpful for me.
Do you feel like that's made you like a better advocate and resource just for other international athletes who you meet while you're here at Maryland, not just on your team?
I think the biggest thing for that is like, I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I made. So in terms of like advocacy, like it to me, I feel like it's more like a big brother, big sister type of thing where like I just want to be able to like share what I've been through and how I navigated that so that it just makes it a little bit easier for the next person. So I would say yes.
Yeah. And then the master's program that you're in, what kind of led you to choose that? And like, how has that experience been being a fifth year?
Yeah. So I would say, like, I know everyone's sick of hearing about COVID, but that was kind of like my silver lining of COVID, I guess. Just the year it happened during my sophomore year. And to apply to this, it's kind of like a +1 program. It's an accelerated program. So I applied for it during my junior year. So it really worked out that I had time to kind of know that I would have this extra eligibility and decide whether I wanted to, stay here, go somewhere else. And I had time to kind of take a look at the different programs that were available instead of just extending my undergrad. I wanted to look and see if there were some other programs out there that I could get involved with. So I landed on this and I'm like, wow, this is the perfect opportunity. Like it's meant to be. So yeah, it really just kind of fell into place for me. And I feel really lucky that it did.
Yeah, I think that is, we are all in this post-COVID era kind of, and I think like seeing the impact that it's having on decisions people have made academically has been really interesting. So toss over to you, Jaiden. You mentioned this in your story about being a transfer student. So kind of want to talk a little bit more about that. What was that experience like for you transferring in still during the COVID time, really? And how did you adjust? And I know you said you're from the area, so like it was a little bit more familiar to you, but how did you make that adjustment as a transfer student?
So honestly, for me, I'd say the transfer process was relatively easy. I was one of the lucky ones where I came from a school where all of my credits transferred over. So academically, I was still on track to graduate on time. And deciding to come to Maryland wasn't really that hard of a decision because, like I said, I'm from Maryland and I already knew once I entered the transfer portal that like that's where I wanted to go. And luckily for me, that's the way that it worked out. And then I also mentioned that I already had some friends here on campus. So as far as that, before I even came in, I was already being welcomed and accepted by all the people that I knew here. And they definitely made the transition from where I was before to here easier. I would say the most difficult part was probably getting adjusted to being a student athlete who goes to school in person again, because I had just spent a year and a half doing school online. So I literally would be in my dorm on Zoom and then just go to practice. Practice would literally be the only time I would leave. But now I had to come to Maryland. All of my classes are in person. And then the training here was a little bit more rigorous, I'd say. So going to these hard practices, having all of these different meetings, treatment, and things like that, that was a lot to get adjusted to. It definitely took me a while to kind of get my schedule in order and learn how to navigate all of the different responsibilities that I had. But overall, it was a really good experience. I don't really have any complaints about it.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've seen with COVID, the transfer portal has been a huge topic of conversation and discussion. So how do you feel like as a transfer student yourself, what have you noticed about the transfer portal and how it's been impacting college sports? And, from your perspective, obviously it benefited you, right? It allowed you to, be able to have a good experience at Maryland. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I'd say from what I experienced, the transfer portal, it was kind of like, it was pretty easy. Like the minute you get put into the transfer portal, I don't know exactly how it works, but coaches some way, somehow, they know you're in it. And immediately like my emails, my phone started getting flooded with different coaches reaching out, trying to get me to come to their program, trying to set up meetings, asking me to learn more. So I feel like if I did want to kind of like shop around a little bit, the fact that they can just reach out to me so easily, that would have made it easier for me to kind of try to research and find out about different schools. But yeah, that was my experience with it.
Yeah. And I feel like it also helps you find the best fit for you, so I think that's good. That's awesome. And then Thomas, turning it over to you, you talked a little bit how Maryland checked all of these boxes for you, right? Like was a school that had athletically what you needed, academically what you needed. So how did you really approach your time here when you stepped on campus, and maybe what's changed from when you stepped on campus to where you are now?
Yeah, I think a lot, 4 years it gives you a lot of time to grow. And, all three of us here, Mackenzie, Jaiden, and myself, Mackenzie being an international student, Jaiden transferring in, myself coming from North Carolina to Maryland where I knew nothing. So that in itself gives you a lot of time to grow both athletically and as a person. I think from what has changed now to being a senior, a lot's changed. And I think that now I'm more focused on kind of setting myself up for the next step in life, which is my postgraduate ambitions. And I think that I came in always thinking that, I need to have that on the forefront of my mind. But really now it's something that I think about every day, and how can I wake up every day and set myself up to be the best version of myself, and that allows me to do what I want to do once I graduate. I think that it's helped me realize too that, you're a lot bigger than just your sport here at Maryland. And as a college athlete, that can be a hard thing to grasp, but I've learned that golf is it's not who I am. It just happens to be what I do. And I have a brand more than just golf, and provide much more to golf, to the Maryland athletics community. And it's been a hard thing to grasp, but it's something that I've learned a lot about over my 4 years here.
I love that. And like mic drop moment. And I think that's true for all three of you, of like, you all have offered so much to this department, like made an impact for sure. Like I think all three of you for sure should walk away knowing that you left a legacy on this program. So I think that is huge, and a perfect transition to my next question. So feel free, anyone jump in, don't feel like you have to answer it, but really who or what has been a go-to resource for you while you've been here at Maryland?
I can hop in and answer that one. I was fortunate enough as a freshman to get connected with a lot of alumni from the Maryland golf team, guys that I really looked up to a lot, and saw how they utilized their 4 years at Maryland, what they got involved in, how their athletic career was, and kind of how that set them up to be successful upon graduation, and allow them to do whatever they wanted to do, whether it's go work at a Big Four accounting firm or go play professional golf. So using those guys as a resource, and talk to them about their path throughout these 4 years, was a huge resource. And these are guys that I still stay in touch with, every month and every couple weeks, and talk to them and get advice from them. And it's been a great sense of family and community that, the Maryland athletics community kind of provides for us student athletes. And being able to take advantage of that was something that was very huge for me and helped me navigate everything.
That's good. Who else? Resource or go-to person for you while you've been here?
Yeah, I think a big one for me has always just been like my teammates and other people on the team, especially when I was like a freshman, sophomore. I think the juniors and seniors on the team, when I was younger, were like such a big resource for me. They like really pushed me to, like, if I showed an interest in something, they would always remind me, like, your time is so short, don't wait, like just join it now. If you're thinking about joining a club, you should do it. Get involved in like the different career development programs. Like, it's going to help you. Time goes by so quick. So I think they really just set the tone in that aspect, and always just like really cared about our journeys and wanted to see us succeed. And so that kind of stuck with me, and it's something that I also try to continue to do now as a leader on the team, and help out my little freshmen.
Yeah, going off of Mackenzie, I definitely agree with that. I think other student athletes have definitely been one of my biggest resources. As she just said, whenever there's something I want to learn more about, something I express an interest in, there's always someone else who knows either someone or a program that I could connect with or get involved with to pursue that interest. And then everyone is always very helpful, very open as far as letting each other know about the opportunities that have been given to them and passing them on to each other. And that's one thing that I really admire, is that no one is trying to like gatekeep anything. Everyone kind of wants to help to build up and uplift each other. And like Mackenzie said, that's something that I'm trying to do for my other teammates, other student athletes, the freshmen coming in. Yeah, that's just one of the really big things I admire about everyone here at Maryland.
I love that each of you have touched on community in a different way, right? Like community with alumni, community with current teammates. Like, I think that's huge. So going to our next question, what is your favorite Maryland memory? Like, what's something that, you know, is going to be a core memory for you, going to be stored, that you're going to reflect on and be like, that was a good time? What's a favorite Maryland memory?
I think for me, like, there was so much my freshman year that was just so different for me. Like, I had never experienced a football game to that extent, like, ever. So that was so cool. Like, I just remember jaw dropping. Like, it was just such a different experience for me. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. So those kind of firsts for me my freshman year, I think, are always going to stick with me, because it was just like such a surreal experience.
Did you wonder why there were so many like timeouts in the game and why they were throwing flags all the time?
Yeah, I still don't totally grasp football, but it helped me see why it's such a big like culture thing here. I never understood that before, but like I see now the whole community around the culture of just sports in general. It's such an incredible thing.
Love that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Maryland, despite me going to school in the United States, it wasn't until I got to Maryland where I really got to experience like big college athletics. My old school didn't have a football team. Sports weren't that big there. So when I came to Maryland, that's when I went to my first college football game, first like soccer game, lacrosse, like all of that, and seeing the community and like the way that sports is able to bring everyone together. That's been something that like I really have enjoyed and that I'll probably never forget. And then getting to experience all those things with your teammates and some of your closest friends, and then just all the people that you meet along the way as you're going to those events. I'm definitely going to miss that once I leave.
My first lacrosse game ever was a Maryland women's lacrosse game. Shout out to women's lacrosse team. And I just was like, they full on hit each other that hard without any like equipment. Like, what is going on? But it was extremely impressive. So I will always remember that for me. What about you, Thomas? Favorite Maryland memory?
Yeah, it kind of, I can't pinpoint anything specific, but it kind of goes into what Mackenzie and Jaiden both touched on there with the sense of community and the first. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday moving into my freshman year dorm with 3 of my now best friends and being so excited to start playing a collegiate sport and go to college classes and walk to the dining hall, and doing that with some of my best friends was a memory that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. But then also the fact that there was people on the baseball team living right next to us, and lacrosse and men's lacrosse, women's lacrosse, track and field, everything. I mean, it was just the whole athletics community, and it was so new to everyone that it was so exciting to walk in the dining hall and see people from other teams and sit with them and meet with them and just be able to create relationships at a very early on in your college journey that have just will continue to last forever and have really grown a lot since freshman year. So those first with everyone in the Maryland athletics community is something that I'll always look back on in a great way.
Yeah, that's really special. So each of you have been involved in Maryland Made in different ways. So I want to hear from each of you your favorite Maryland Made program or experience. It doesn't have to be like a program, but experience that you had with Maryland
Made. I can start. So last year I was on the SAC e-board, and around the holiday season, SAC does a lot as far as like trips giving, adopt a family. Those were definitely 2 of my favorite events. I just love the way that like the athletics community and just the greater Maryland campus was able to come together to support a lot of these local families in need. And then just knowing the impact that our efforts in collecting the goods, whether it be food, toys, money, whatever, is having on families who need it, especially during like the holiday season.
Yeah, definitely.
For me, I think the biggest one was probably the Worldwide Terps women's basketball game where we had the international night. That was really cool, just to like see everyone come together, and we like got to watch the game together and go down on the court. We had our flags. It was like a really just like special time to like honor each other and where we all come from, and just like celebrate our backgrounds and our culture. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And there was like a lot of planning that went into it, and just seeing it all kind of work out and come together was really exciting. And then also Gossett was just like a really helpful program for me. I think like I'm done it now, but the 2 years that I spent in the program was just really helpful for me. I think those are just a lot of things I just wouldn't have done on my own otherwise, and like just really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And I remember thinking during like some of the meetings, like, oh, this isn't gonna help me. Like, this, what is this really doing? But like I see it now, and like I feel more prepared for things, and it had like a sneaky way of working for me, and I'm really glad it did. Like I definitely was like skeptical at first of how much is this really preparing me, but I see it now. Like I feel more prepared. So I'm really glad that I went through that program.
I love it.
For me, I would say it was something during a time of uncertainty. I served with Julia Rayson, shout out to Julia, on the return to work and play task force during COVID, which was a really interesting and unique experience during a time when we had no idea what was going to happen, but be able to sit in on meetings with Damon and other ADs, and as well as people from, that are high up in the university that are outside of the athletic department, and be able to sit in on those meetings with them and kind of be a voice of the student athlete body, and be able to kind of relay certain messages back to the student body, the student athlete community, about what things are going to look like going forward. Try to navigate that whole COVID situation as best we can. Trying to take something that was a negative and turn it into a positive, and figure out how we can make this work going forward. It was something that obviously I don't think anyone wishes we had COVID again, but it was a really cool experience to take something that was a tough time for everyone, but try to figure out how to make the most of it, and go forward and learn and make it as much as a positive as you can.
Yeah, that's huge. And I like how each of you touched on something different that, really aligned with either your individual values or something that like was unexpected for you. And I think that's really cool to hear. And moving into the next question in this segment, this is a time for each of you to brag on yourselves, because I want us to all celebrate you all, because you all have had such amazing accomplishments. But what's been your biggest accomplishment during your time here at Maryland?
God, I'll go ahead and answer this one. I was thinking about this, and I don't think I can necessarily pinpoint one thing that I've accomplished, one specific thing, whether it's an athletic accomplishment, an academic accomplishment, or something with extracurriculars. I don't think it's fair to say that one thing is better than the other. So I think looking back at my time here in Maryland and what I've accomplished, I think the one thing that I would pinpoint is that I've done a great job of, in my opinion, setting myself up for the next step in my life, and being ready to turn the chapter. And, from my freshman year when I came on campus, doing things such as going to SAC meetings and getting involved in a bunch of extracurriculars and doing well academically, and then enjoying my sport on top of that, trying to do all three of those things to the best of my ability each and every day, to allow myself to be successful and enjoy college and be able to turn the chapter, and knowing that I wrote a good chapter here at Maryland.
I love that. I wrote a good chapter. That is a good phrase, Thomas. That should be your like catchphrase moving forward. I love that.
Yeah, I think Thomas put that so perfectly. Like, it's really hard to just pinpoint one specific thing. I think the biggest thing for me has been like so much personal growth. Like I look back on where I was freshman year, and it's been such a journey, and I'm proud of myself for how far I've come. And like athletically, extracurriculars, I've had things that I would maybe say are my biggest accomplishment, but I I almost don't want to call them my biggest accomplishment because I have one more year. And so I really hope that the biggest accomplishments are still yet to come, especially athletically. So there's still work to be done. And I'm hoping that this spring is when my biggest accomplishments are going to be there.
I love it. The best is yet to come. Yes, Mackenzie, that's good.
I think kind of same as Mackenzie. I don't have like one singular accomplishment that I'd say I'm more proud of. Oh, I guess and Thomas also, I'm more proud of than the other. I think during my year and a half that I've been here at Maryland, I've been surrounded by a lot of people that I can tell want to see me win. And that has really given me a lot of confidence and empowered me. And then with all the different programming that I've been in, all the different classes that I've been in, it's kind of really shown me that I have like a lot of the skills necessary to be successful, and just kind of hearing that in my ear every day, being reaffirmed that like I'm able, I'm capable. It's really helped me to grow as a person. And then over the summer, I had an internship with a big company and I was able to directly translate all of the skills that I learned here at Maryland, whether it be from the Maryland Made programming or in my classes to that. And I was able to come out of the summer with like a full-time job offer. So like after I graduate, whatever I decide to do, like that's an option for me. So that's something I'm definitely like really proud of, and like attribute a lot of my success to Maryland and the person it's made me become.
I love that. Yes, we're so proud of you, all of you. So that's a perfect transition to our next segment, just thinking about what's next. So I feel like just in life, the worst question everyone always asks you is like, so what are you doing after this? Like, you're like, do you not understand how much anxiety that question holds? Like, that is such a stressful question. So I don't really want to focus too much on like what each of you are actually doing post Maryland. But if you want to, feel free to share that. What I really do want to discuss is like kind of what do you hope your life looks like post Maryland? You know, like where would you ideally want to be living? What does your day-to-day really look like? What's your workout schedule? Like what's your relationship with sport look like at that point in your life? And just kind of, you know, maybe romanticize, you know, what does life look like post Maryland as a young adult, you know, young professional for you?
So I think that like how you mentioned, it's kind of a scary question because like for me, all I've ever known is sports and structure. It's such a big part of your life. So to think about it just being over is like very scary. But what I've been trying to do is, I guess, like reframe that like fear of all that freedom and try to think of that as like a blessing of, you know, this is going to be one of the first times where I really can just do anything that I want, which is very almost surreal. So I'm really trying to look at it in that way of how exciting that's going to be able to just have the freedom to like, if I want to go travel somewhere, I can. I don't have practice like tying me down. So I think that that's going to be really special and cool to get to have that new freedom and just like explore a little bit more like who I am and what I want to do with my life outside of sport. But I definitely still see running being a big part of my life. And I think it's a cool thing about the sport is that it can be something super casual. It can be kind of at any level that you want it to be or need it to be. So I think it's like an easy thing to keep incorporating into my life. And I also just don't think I could ever just like quit cold turkey. I think I'd go crazy. So I definitely still like see myself running and being active in the future. And yeah, hopefully like traveling. And I'd like to move back home. So back to Canada.
Love it. Where's the first place you're traveling to? When you have the time, what's that bucket list location?
When I have the funds. Yeah, I really want to go to British Columbia. It's like west coast of Canada, or like road trip, like the whole west coast, I think would be super cool. That's like bucket list for me. So
love it.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Okay, so for me, this summer, I discovered that I am a Pilates girl. I love Pilates. That's one of the ways I stayed in shape this summer. I did Pilates. I did Pilates like 2-3 times a week. So once I graduate and I'm done with track, I'm definitely going to be a Pilates girl. I'm gonna be the girl going to Pilates every day. I also really like biking, like Peloton workouts or Soul Cycle. So I definitely see myself doing like that. I probably will still run. Definitely not gonna probably be sprinting anymore, but slow it down a little bit, go on some more long runs. But exercise is definitely something that will always be a part of my life. As far as my like day-to-day and just life in general goes, I'll probably move to a bigger city. It's because I got to live in a city this past summer, and I really see why a lot of young people want to move to cities. There's so much to do, and it's like really hard to be bored. So I definitely see that for myself. I really am aiming to have a job that I love and also gives me that sense of community that has been so important to me and that I've got to experience in college. So that, and then like Mackenzie, traveling, I love to travel. So yeah.
So Jaiden, are you going to be a Pilates instructor? Like, are we going to now be able to like sign up for your classes and stuff?
Honestly, I might get to that point. I can see that for myself.
Did you have like a studio that you like went to, or you try like a bunch of different places?
Yeah, no, I went to a studio. So
Okay.
Club Pilates, I think they have those here too, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I love it. If anyone has a chance to go to Club Pilates, the first class is free. I highly recommend doing it. It's so fun.
I love it. That's awesome. All right, Thomas, what about you?
Yeah, so touching on kind of the main points there, my relationship with my sport, I'm not sure what that looks like, kind of same with what Mackenzie and Jaiden mentioned. Similar to running, golf is something that you can do for the rest of your life. It's unique, if you don't, unlike football, if you don't go on to the NFL, you're probably not going to be playing football when you're 35 years old or 55 years old, but golf, you still can. I think that it's definitely going to slow down for sure. Just because I'll be hopefully busy with so many other things too, and starting a career, but it's something that I will continue to do. I love the social aspect of it too, and spending time for 2, 3, 4 hours on the golf course with a group of friends and new friends or old friends. And I think it's a great time to be able to get to know people, network with people. Competitively, I'll probably step away from playing competitive golf for the time being. And then you never know, kind of, 5, 6, 7 years down the road, it could that hunger could come back. Every student athlete has that competitive edge in them. And even if you step away from it for a little bit, it always kind of comes back. So I'm very excited for kind of the next phase with my relationship with my sport. And it's something that every student athlete deals with, but I'm excited to kind of see where that relationship with golf takes me. And then going forward too, Jaiden touched on it a little bit. I'm interested in living in a big city. I've grown up in Charlotte, which is becoming a bigger city. I've seen it become a bigger city, and I love Charlotte. That's always home, but I'm also open to venturing out and trying new places and going somewhere else. So trying to figure out, how to set up my career. I think there's a difference between graduating and getting a job and graduating and setting up your career. And that's something I've been trying to think about a lot, and the best steps going forward to set up a career and allow myself to do the things that I like to do extracurricularly, like travel and spend times with friends and stuff that y'all mentioned as well.
Well, I love Charlotte. I'm a big fan of Charlotte. So shout out to Charlotte. And then all of you mentioned travel. And for you, Thomas, like the good thing is golf courses take you to a lot of beautiful places in the world, because golf courses are always in like some of the most spectacular places. So lucky for you, you can still keep playing your sport and travel too.
That is a very nice benefit of it.
Yeah. So moving into our third segment, just really thinking about some advice to share, like looking at your freshman year self. What is some advice you would give yourself, and what would it be?
I think the advice I'd give myself is to just relax, stop overthinking, and everything always works out. I think that's something that I definitely now understand, especially as I reflect on my past 4 years of college and just life in general, is that everything always works out at the end of the day. In the moment, whatever issue, whatever you're going through, it might seem really big, but it's really not in the grand scheme of things, and especially in the grand scheme of your life. Like as Thomas mentioned earlier, this is just one chapter of our life. And like we're going to get through it. It's just a matter of taking the lessons and the experiences that we're going through now, taking what we need to take away from them and applying it to become a better version of ourselves moving forward.
Love that.
I think I think for me, it's something that I'm thinking a lot about right now, and I wish I would have thought about it more as a freshman, is just be present in the moment. It's so hard. If it were easy, everyone would be awesome at it. But it's one of the most challenging things, especially when you're graduating, you're thinking about what you're going to do after school. And that's the way life works, right? You're always thinking about what's next, what am I going to do next? But how can I be present in the moment, enjoy what I'm going to go do today, whether it's go to class, whether it's go to practice, whether it's go get dinner with a couple of my friends, it doesn't matter. So trying to really be present, soak it all in, enjoy everything. And it goes by quick. Like I said earlier, I remember like it was yesterday, exactly the feelings I had and the memories I had when I moved into my freshman year dorm. So I'm trying to be in the present every day until I graduate. And I wish I would have probably listened to myself. And when people told me that my freshman year, that I would have taken that advice and just stayed in the present as much as I can.
Yeah, that's just good advice, moving forward in life, to like always be present in those moments. And kind of like what you were saying, Jaiden, everything happens for a reason, right? And so being present while that thing is happening. Yeah. What about you, Mackenzie? Advice to your freshman year self?
Yeah, I think Thomas and Jaiden really like hit the nail on the head with everything. I think a big thing for me freshman year would just be like, trust yourself, and don't give yourself some grace. Like, don't stress out too much. Again, like what Jaiden was saying, like things are going to work out. And then take it all in, and like what Thomas said, like be present. And just there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different, whether it's athletically, academically, extracurricular, socially, there's just so many things. And I think that can be super overwhelming, especially as a freshman. And it almost makes you want to do none of them because there's just so many. And that can be really hard. And just, it's a tough time. You're like learning so much about yourself and about the world. There's so much personal growth happening. And I think you really just have to give yourself grace, and know that like you're doing the best that you can. But still trying to, again, remember that it goes by so fast. I heard that so many times as a freshman. And I knew I'd be in this position, sitting here about to graduate, saying it went by so fast. But yeah, it's hard to be able to do it all, and you can't really do it all. So just trying to like, just balance things out and do what works best for you, and you're going to do a great job.
I love that. That's sweet. Telling yourself you'll do a great job. That's good. Mackenzie kind of touched on this, but maybe Thomas and Jaiden, if you have something to add, like kind of what scares you about leaving Maryland? What are some of those fears that you have, and how have you, I guess, been, doing like positive self-talk or like talking about that with your friends to help, reduce those fears?
I think for me, one of the things, I wouldn't say really scares me, but it's a little concerning, is knowing that like once I graduate, like me and all the people that I've grown very close with and get to see on a daily basis currently, we're gonna all be separated. So just the thought of just not having that easy, quick access to some of my closest friends anymore. I think that's something that kind of like, I don't know, it kind of, I don't want to say rubs me the wrong way, but it's just like, dang, that's gonna suck. So yeah, and then just the sense of familiarity that comes with college. Like you have a pretty set routine, you have class from your set times every day, you have practice at your set times, like you kind of know what to expect of each day. But in the real world, I feel like it's not going to be like that. Especially I kind of experienced that this summer with my internship. Is just that you don't know what each day is going to kind of bring you at work. And yeah, especially with like living in a city and stuff like that. Like you don't know what's going to happen.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of things out there, but I don't really like to use the word scared to define it. I would rather say there's certain things that I'm trying to be optimistic about, right?
Yeah.
Like a schedule. Where am I going, your day-to-day or weekly schedule? What am I going to do on a Saturday or Sunday where I'm not consumed of 8 hours of practice? Stuff like that. How am I going to spend my free time? And be optimistic about new opportunities and where you're living, and optimistic about how you're going to make those relationships with friends that are living in different cities. How are you going to make those work? And being able to cherish those moments that you get to spend with those people, as you don't get to see them as often. So I think kind of flipping it, instead of saying I'm scared for something, I'd like to say I'm optimistic about how these new challenges are gonna work out in the future.
All right, we got a glass half full. I like it. That's good. So the most of our conversation so far has been very reflective, like very thoughtful. I kind of move into like a more fun piece. So I call it rapid fire. So you got to answer right away. The first thing that comes to mind, you just got to say it. So the first one is to share with our listeners the best study spot on campus.
Second floor of McCowden.
ComSci building.
Gotta be building 3 T-row study rooms.
I love it. I'm gonna have to go check these out because I have no idea where any of those are. Okay, best go-to grab and go meal on campus or close-ish to campus.
Mine's Chick-fil-A at Stamp. I pass it every day on the way to practice, and I gotta come clean. I eat it like 5 or 6 times a week.
What's the go-to order, Thomas? You have it that much?
I mix it up. Sometimes, normally it's just a number one meal. Sometimes I'll get nuggets. Every now and then I'll mix it up and feel a little healthier and get like a wrap. But
I love it.
I think maybe Pliables.
That's good. That's a good one.
Probably Chipotle.
All right. That gets some good variety. All right. I don't know if it's actually really controversial. I thought it might be, but maybe it's not. Senioritis, is it real or is it fake?
Real.
Is it a struggle to be a little bit motivated right now?
Well, I feel like I hit senioritis last year because I was already in my senior year. So now I got to get back into it.
Right.
Yeah, but check in with me again next semester and we'll see if it's hitting again.
Okay. All right. So we got one vote for real. Thomas, Jaiden, real or fake?
I'll say not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Same for me. I haven't really experienced it yet.
Okay. All right. That's fair. Favorite place you've lived on campus? Or I guess if you lived off campus, but just favorite place you've lived while you've been here in Maryland.
I've only lived in one place, so the University View.
It wasn't the most glamorous, but I gotta go back to my freshman year dorm situation, living in Baltimore Hall, 2101 Baltimore Hall, with 3 of my best friends. It definitely wasn't the most glamorous, but we made it work, and yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I'm with Thomas on this one. I'd have to, just for the memories, I'd have to go back to my freshman year dorm. Garrett Hall, loved it. It was fun. Got to live with a bunch of girls on the team, and it was just a cool experience.
Great. Last one, and it doesn't have to be serious. It can be funny too. What will you miss most about Maryland?
The people, for sure, and just the whole college experience that Maryland has brought us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. The team, my friends, the people, definitely.
Yeah, I wish I had something else to say, but it's the people for sure. That's why I've loved it and have felt like this is a new home for me. Whether it's teammates, people on other teams, people within Maryland Made in the athletic department, and coaches. The list goes on and on and on. So the relationships and the people.
I love it. Well, before we wrap up, I just want each of you to quickly share with our listeners, how can we support each of you in your next phase of your journey? Like, do we need to be checking in on you and see how that transition's going? Like, do you need suggestions of jobs to apply for? Like, what can we do to like help support you all in your next phase of this journey?
I think continue to really do what y'all have been doing. Maryland Made is awesome. It's provided me with so many great opportunities. I've met so many awesome people throughout this process. And I think you've kind of given us a great stepping stone to jump into the next phase of our life. So continue to do what you're doing with that for the younger kids, and the freshmen and sophomores that are here, try to keep encouraging them. I'm trying to encourage the younger guys on my team to get involved in more stuff and take advantage of these great resources that y'all offer, and just really continue doing that. And I think that know that you guys have set us up very well to be successful.
I love it. Mackenzie, Jaiden, how can we support each of you?
I think, Thomas made a lot of great points. I definitely want to second all of that. And just like, once we move on, keep checking in on us, and we still want to know what's going on with all of you, especially everyone on my team. Like, I'm still going to be their biggest cheerleaders, and just checking in, and not saying that I'm old. That my team likes to do that now because I'm a fifth year. I don't think that's very supportive. I'm still young.
We heard you. We got you.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with everything that Mackenzie and Thomas have said. Going off of Mackenzie, just like once we've transitioned out of Maryland, you just help us stay connected with us. I don't know. They said everything so perfectly.
I love it. Well, and the good news for all three of you, and I'm sure you already know about this, we have the M Club. So you all can definitely stay involved in the M Club to continue to support not just your teammates, but other athletes here at Maryland. So that's a great resource for you all to get kind of plugged into and, find that community, whatever city you're into, find other young alums. Well, thank you all for taking the time to speak with me. We are just so proud of each of you and all you have accomplished here at Maryland, and just so excited to see what lies ahead for you, whether it's Pilates instructor on the side or, traveling the world, whatever that is. We're just excited to see what this next chapter holds for you. So that's all we have for you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.